listening to the Tom Golly Official Podcast, and I am Tom Golly, and with me today is Jonathan Sullivan, the Tone Junkie, a.k.a. HW. Hello, Jonathan. What's going on?
What's up, man? It's super great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. You got a killer studio here, man.
Thank you.
This is really, I drove in this morning, and it's only about 30 minutes for me to get over here. But, yeah, man, you're making me think I gotta up my game at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not at your house, but at my house is where I do, all my YouTube stuff. And, I have a podcast area, but this is like next level.
Thank you. A lot of people message me and ask me, like, they actually think this is in my basement. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm in Tennessee where I live. There's no basement. So,
right.
But no, we are in an office building. And crazy story. And I think you could appreciate this. And the reason I'll share this with you, because, if anyone not familiar with my friend Jonathan here, you are one heck of a day trader, stock. I mean, you like, I'm losing money on a stock right now that every single day you're like, yes, I'm making money. Like, I got to hang out with this guy.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
But I was watching, it was on Discovery Plus. It was called Undercover Billionaire.
Mm-hmm. I watched that show.
Yeah, and now I was really only interested in the Grant Cardone sections. So I literally would just fast forward, jump. Like, oh, Grant again. Yeah. And man, like, say what you want about Grant Cardone, but there's something inspiring about a guy that you watch. Now, yes, I'll be the first to say, having cameras around surely helps get you some attention. And get people to maybe say yes to things because they don't really know what's going on, but there's cameras, and how could this go wrong, right? Yeah. Sure. But I watched a guy pitch somebody, this is a billionaire who owns a jet, willing to hustle and grind to the point where he's like, look, pay me $5,000. I don't make a cent. I just want to prove myself to you. He's on the side of a road with a sign trying to get people to come in. And I'm watching how this guy hustles to where within 90 days, they start a marketing business. And in that marketing business was a podcast studio. And he talked about the importance of podcasting with branding. Yeah. And it got me going, man, I could build a podcast studio. I have the talent, the abilities, the knowledge to build the studio, but then what? And basically, then I got with a couple people who have, different experience in, different fields, marketing, video. And here it is today. And realizing that the fun part for me is getting an additional platform that I can utilize. Because as an artist, as a songwriter, it's difficult because not every topic makes for a great song.
True.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'll post something on Facebook and someone will go, that'd make a great song. No, it won't. No, it won't. And I like to learn, and a lot of songwriters get mad at me because a lot of times I want to ask questions in songs and almost have a conversation with the audience. Yeah, and
make them think a bit.
Yeah, and most people are like, no, we have to resolve it. We have to have the answer every time, and I'm like, but that's not real life.
You know the best example of that? Remember that Bare Naked Lady song? I think I'll go hide out under there. I just blew it. I think I'll go hide out under there. Yeah, I just made you say underwear. That's like,
I still do that to my kids. It's so funny. To me, it's hilarious. Yeah, but yeah, it's but that's true. And it's and I get misunderstood on Facebook all the time to where I almost don't even want to post anymore. Yeah, I can't even post something good happen without. I mean, it's crazy. So it's for argument's sake, I'm surprised you haven't had this happen yet, or maybe you have and you just utilized hide comment, which is the greatest Facebook tool ever. Yeah, you hide it and no one knows. Not even them. It's beautiful.
Nobody knows it's there. Yeah,
I know it happens to me a lot, probably, but it's interesting to me when I would post something on Facebook and someone's just got something to say. That's just, I mean, for example, you can appreciate this. I went to a 4th of July show with my daughter. It was like a fireworks show, and she wanted to sell glow sticks because I've talked about it for years. How I've seen people make so much money doing that. Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, can I do that?" I'm like, "Well, sure. Let's go to Walmart." Which isn't the greatest source. You could probably buy them cheaper, but it was great. She made like $90 in an hour of walking around. I mean, for a 12-year-old, I followed her around. We had a couple of teaching moments of but anyhow, I had somebody comment later, oh. I hope you asked permission, First off, why would we do that?
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
And permission from who?
I mean, from who? I don't even. Does it matter?
The governor.
From
the mayor.
I mean,
the
really?
park.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's the other people who are like, well, hypothetically, if somebody came up to you and was like, I don't have any money, can I have one anyway for my 3-year-old? What would you have done? And I'm like, look, I'm being baited here.
Yeah.
Because one, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And right now, you're asking me right now when I'm kind of maybe in a bad mood. It's kind of, you get baited on things.
It's a gotcha.
Right.
And it's a total gotcha question.
And it's like, well, what's the point of that? And I mean, I see it all the time when you see people post about how like maybe they've made a lot of money on something, and people are like, wow, imagine how many people that could feed in Cambodia.
Yeah.
It's like, what is happening?
It's silly.
So what is it like? Do you ever find that with social media that it's difficult to really convey ideas or learn something?
Yeah, so nuance is definitely lost. So what you're referring to is like some of the maybe if I post about a trade that I made.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you overall, you know, I get most of my hate on YouTube. You know, and so I make YouTube videos about guitar-related stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a channel I just started about investing stuff. We'll see what happens with that, if I get a lot of hate there or not. I've been surprised at how many people seem to scour YouTube just looking for content they don't like so that they can then write long, you know.
So you have Tone Junkie.
I have Tone Junkie, and at the time we're filming this, I have a brand new channel called Well Hello there that has one video out, but it'll probably have more by the time.
So what is Tone Junkie specifically? I mean, my understanding of it is that it's mainly geared toward Kemper profiles and such.
Yeah, Kemper profiles, impulse responses. So if you're a guitar player, you know, people know what that is. But it's basically, I can sample, for lack of a better term, I can sample the sound of an amplifier. So I get vintage, rare, hard to find amplifiers. I sort of sample their sound. And then that allows people, you know, all around the world, whoever has one of these hardware devices, to sort of get the sound of a 1965 Fender Deluxe without owning the amp, without owning the microphones. They then can, you know, have that sound with their guitar. It's something I got turned on to when I moved here to Nashville. This is a really popular town for Kempers because there's so much music production happening.
Right.
And a lot of production has gone from big studios to small studios in people's basements, in people's houses, you know. Even a lot of the big stuff, you know. A lot of successful people have even just, if they got the land, they built another little building on their property. They convert a barn, you know, and tons and tons of huge records are made in people's barns, more or less, that are awesome studios, realistically, but it's really common. And so that's what I do. And so I make that content, and you know, people have things to say about it, you know. Of course.
Well, I find I used to be part of a Facebook group just because I wanted to be connected to more Christian musicians and things. I think it was something P&W.
Gear Talk P&W.
Gear Talk P&W.
Yeah.
Man, first off, that's supposed to be a praise and worship full of Christians. And I don't think God exists in that Facebook group. And I don't understand what it is about guitar players specifically. Now, and I'm even talking to guys who work and play for me.
Sure.
I don't understand. If someone's getting a tone that they like, that they're happy with, who cares what you think of it? Because you know, Lincoln Brewster proved it. He can go up there with what he had, that Line 6 pod.
Pod.
Like some of the cheapest gear imaginable because it was the easiest to get in advance. And you think the fans care?
No, it's totally a situation where gear is for the player.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's like I would liken guitar pedals to like small brewery like IPAs. It's like the more obscure, the better in some circles. Right. And there's people who just want it. It's like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all. You gotta try them all. They want the variety. And then there's flavors of the week. And everyone's really just buying variations of the same pedal. So they're all tube screamers, and they all sound the same mostly.
It seems like the only thing anybody agrees on is the
The new thing is the best.
Well, there's that, and then everyone seems to hate. What's his name? Jeff Cundy. They all seem to hate him.
There's a degree of that in that group specifically. There is a degree of that.
Yeah,
and it's because he sends out a lot of emails. So don't find yourself on his email list. He's actually really good at these sort of clickbait titles.
Sure, sure.
But going back, your question was, do I get a lot of this like negative kind of stuff? I'll tell you, on YouTube, I get sort of the most out there. On Facebook, yeah, man, people cannot seem to. There's no nuance, and I think there's a lot of people who just go on Facebook to fight. And so a lot of times I'll post things that are not at all political. People are trying to make them political.
Yep.
There's a lot of gotchas like you're describing, but overall, I would say. Those people aren't real. Like the people who are on Twitter and Facebook that we all see all the time, they're not real. They're not real people. What you get is like, you get one dimension of a person. And I know people in real life who I know them as a full person. They have, joys and fears. Yeah. They have anxiety and they have courage, and they're a full person. But all they talk about on their stories is whatever. It's a very one-dimensional thing. You could insert any, controversial topic. They talk about the patriarchy or racism or, or anything. Or they're like full QAnon. It doesn't matter. Whatever their thing is, they go one-dimensional on one of those things. And so it's like they get on Instagram or Facebook only for the purpose of wanting to fight about one thing. And so they're just searching for it, right? And the algorithm's spitting out all the content that gets them angry or gets them worked up. And maybe it's... for a lot of people, it is money. Money is a political thing. It's a social thing. And they want to jump out there and hit you with like a gotcha question, like, what would you have done? Like, what, because a lot of people have like this negative association, I think, with like making money. It must be evil. And that's really like, it's really prevalent right now. It's really common. You hear it around Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. You hear it around all these guys, even Elon, Richard Branson recently, all these people attacking, I mean, some of these guys are almost more known for their philanthropic work at this point. Bill Gates is a good example of a guy who left at the height of his career to do only philanthropic work. Is he richer now than he was before? Yeah, but that's just because he didn't sell Microsoft, right? It's like somebody else took over.
But apparently now he wants to destroy.
I know he's a weirdo. I don't want to be on the side of Bill Gates. But all that to say.
He wants to be Thanos.
He does want to be Thanos.
He's going to turn purple.
He wants to block out the sun, and he owns a lot of farmland, and that makes me uncomfortable. But it's really weird. He keeps buying farmland. But the thing they don't talk about him is he's also, if you look up, there's articles saying that he, at the end of his life, may be credited as saving more human lives than any one single person, because the amount of malaria nets and malaria vaccines that he's given out in the world, they just go by the numbers and they go, well, 100 malaria nets will save 10 people's lives. And he, at the end of his life, is going to probably be around saving about 200 million lives. And so... and there's estimates and stuff, and it may even go a lot higher. And his foundation is going to go on and keep doing it. So you never hear that, right? You only hear this stuff. You never hear like Bill Gates has completely changed what malaria looks like on this planet. But it doesn't look like that because it's a one-dimensional idea that like, money is bad, and if you have money, you must have been hurting someone to get there. So like the example of you and your daughter running around selling glow sticks, right? It's like hurting nobody, and like if it weren't for you, there would be no glow sticks at this place. Now, it might be a little different if there's like an official glow stick vendor who paid money to like be at this event, and then you run in the back door. But I have a feeling this was a public park, right?
Oh, public park, yeah.
Yeah, there's no official event. There's no nut. There's you're providing people a service, and if they want it, they can pay you the money.
That's
if they don't, they're the only people that you need to ask permission from, really.
That's right.
You ask them permission, and I mean, you're asking permission. Do you want this? And they're saying, yeah, we do. We would rather have that than the money that we have in our pocket, so we'll trade you because we value that more than the money.
Yeah, see, that is the proper, correct business mindset. And it's interesting because like one thing that a lot of people don't know, I do this. And I mean, I've kind of laid off it for the last couple of years, but it's more of a hobby than it is anything else. And it's enabled my wife and I to actually spend some time like we always like to escape games because we work well together in that regard.
Yeah.
So we actually started hitting up like garage sales, even going to like Goodwill.
Yeah.
And we walk around literally, I mean, just because we got nothing else to do today, let's go to Goodwill and look for expensive, like look for value.
Yeah.
You know, we'll spend $50 and find $500 in shoes that, you know, maybe just need to be cleaned, throw on eBay.
Totally.
You know, and we're going to take that money and spend it on vacation.
Yeah.
And what we do, we spent time together. We enjoyed the time.
Yeah.
We hunted for something. It was a task. But we like to go to garage sales too, because you never know what someone goes, $20 for that box full of old video games. And you're just like, dude, I'm going to sell these for like $1,000. And you get people like, if you tell anyone, or post that or to share that, you will get people, and I've seen it. There's a lot of YouTubers who do this kind of thing. Well, they wear a GoPro strapped to them, you know, and they get people
this is
who
really
go,
popular. Flipping is really popular. Yeah.
And you get people who are like, oh, what you're saying is you rip those people off.
Right.
How did I rip them off? I went, hey, how much you want for this? And they went, $20.
Yeah.
And then I went, how about 3? And they went, 10. And I went, okay.
Yeah. You didn't rip them off any more than the guys who advertise for bulk garbage pickups. You literally pay them money. They charge you more than the dump charges them to drop it off on public land.
Right.
That's what all of those trash pickups, I mean, the same thing. Those people want to get rid of their stuff to the point that they would probably take less money than the money they put, and they're happy to see it go.
And the truth is, if they were willing to take the time, research, ship, or research, list, ship, deal with the idiocy that happens on eBay.
Sure, they're not being kept off eBay. They're not being kept off Craigslist. No one's keeping them off Facebook Marketplace. They could do that. They might not want to. I have stuff in my garage. Maybe I'd be fine just getting rid of because we're not using it all the time. When if my kids outgrow their bikes, right, I'm probably going to donate them. I know that I could go sell them. So I'll either donate them but if I'm going to have a garage sale, I mean, if I know someone personally, I'll just give them the bike, right? If I know another kid that's smaller, I might I just want them out. I'm choosing, right? I'm really choosing to buy back my time. I could make $30 on this bike. I could make $50 on this bike. I'm choosing to not do it because I would rather just have the time. They're all just economic choices people make. So I 100% agree with you. You're not ripping anybody off, but that's how people see it. And it's the difference between some people. Maybe it's a victim mentality or something those people are being hurt or there's opportunity out there, and some people just identify it as opportunity and they're willing to go put in work to get it, or they're not. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of times it's the difference between there's this guy John Locke who wrote this book a long time ago, and he's sort of the father.
Isn't he from Lost?
So it's funny. I think he's named after this author, but John Locke's like sometimes called the father of like modern capitalist theory and thought. And his idea is that he was trying to answer the question: if an apple grows on a tree and it grows, how do you make it yours? You can't buy the apple. Maybe you didn't even plant the tree, but you just find there's something out there. And his theory is the act of reaching out and grabbing the apple and pulling it off the tree, that's the work that makes it yours. That's how you earned the apple.
I like that.
The apple belongs to you because of the work.
Yeah.
And then obviously after that, you can transfer ownership to other people. You can take that apple. And then look, if someone planted the tree, it's their tree. And you can't, then you're actually taking what's theirs, right? But if a tree's so there's these things, there's opportunity out there that we didn't make, we didn't build the bike. We didn't create it. We didn't store it there. We didn't create the market for the bike. We didn't do all that. But what we might have done is gone to a garage sale and found a bike. You might have found a box full of Pokemon cards. You went there and did a thing, and you made it yours. That's how you earned it. And now the market's out there to decide how much it's worth. And I strongly disagree with a lot of the sort of notions that I feel like young people have about money and making money and the evil of money.
I mean, I literally, there was a YouTuber that I check out a lot, and I saw a comment where, the dude went in and looked like somebody must have donated an entire collection of authentic Jordans. And this dude bought them all for $5 a piece. He's showing comps on a computer, look what I'm going to make. And it's just like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This guy got up in the morning, showed up at 9 a.m. at a store, and basically picked up a whole bunch of stinky shoes, to make a profit. It's great. But there was a comment. It's sad how greed prevents people who can't afford to buy those new. It preventing them a chance to get a great deal to actually wear and cherish those.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you know how they can get them? They can wake up at 6 in the morning and find themselves at that garage sale.
That's 1,000% right.
That's it. They can do the same.
1,000% right. I mean, people don't understand this by now. There's money everywhere.
Yeah.
There's money. Like, people always, I mean, hey, I'm all for praying for God to provide, but He already has.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, on one hand, it's like, okay, there's a plentiful garden that, could have there's all kinds of, you need to eat, go pluck the food, right? Right. Now it's like, okay, cool. Can't really find work, can't find jobs. Well, okay, there's profit all around you. There's Goodwill stores, thrift stores, there's garage sales, people selling things way cheaper, desirable things that you could probably sell quickly. You could even walk around Walmart or go to a couple Walmarts and find stuff that's on clearance that you could sell on Facebook Marketplace probably the same day.
Oh, no, people do that all the time. That retail arbitrage, there's a bunch of videos about. There was I just watched a video of a guy on YouTube who it was like, I want to say like it was Mario Monopoly.
Yeah.
And he just realized that Amazon had them for $14.99 and on Amazon they went for $21.99.
Yeah.
He went through, I think, Kentucky down into Tennessee and down into Alabama, bought out every store. He ended up, I think, buying like 200 of these things. While he's making the video, he literally exits every Walmart, scans how many he has, and lists them on eBay or lists them on Amazon as he's driving to the next place. He did this for hours and hours and hours, makes the YouTube video. At the end, he shows, I've already sold half of them, and I just got the last ones, and whatever, I'll sell all these. And that's all he's doing is making the spread. And, is that it's arbitrage. It's just the arbitrage game. For him, it's retail arbitrage. He realizes one retailer is selling something cheaper than it's going for on another retail site, and people want it on the other retail site. They're not. So he's the delivery service, and his fee is $6, and that's built into the price. Whether that's advertised or not, Amazon's gonna ship it to them, and he's fulfilling it.
That's right.
And that's the whole thing. That's his business, and good for him. And I don't want to come across like. Here's two guys who have their stuff together. They've got some money in the bank, and they're just saying, stop being poor, stop not having money or stop complaining. But we should applaud meritocracy. And when people have money because they did something to provide value, like no one should attack that. That's a good thing for everybody, for the people buying and not buying, because there's a lot of people who go on Amazon and want that game, and it's not sold out. It's not sold out, and they can get the game because that guy put 200 units up. Now, there might be some people at Walmart who show up looking for the game and it's not there. And that's not good for them, I guess. So, they might, but they can go on Walmart.com. They can go on Amazon. The game's available, right? Yeah. And so, those are just inefficiencies that might, sort of exist in the market. But, I mean, in terms of hustle, I mean, what we're saying is like you got to put in the work and good things happen.
Right.
And I think that's like generally good advice for life. Put in the work, put in a lot of work, be kind.
Yep.
And then in general, good things just start happening to you. So when I was starting Tone Junkie, I've never, as a child or even as an adult, I never like went without food or anything, and I always had a roof over my head. My parents, took care of us, but, my parents were split up, and I had a dad who was a teacher. And he did all right for himself. And then on my mom's side, man, we were living in a house with 16 people. It was all my cousins and everything. It was at one point 3 aunts, an uncle, maybe there were 10, 12, 13 kids, and my grandmother, all in one house.
Wow.
And nobody had their own room. You had your own shelf in the closet, and there were multiple rooms with bunk beds,
Yeah.
And there were different stories in that house of all different hard times. One family had owned a house and lost it, and anyway, there were a couple of years where we all ended up back there. Nobody had any money. I don't look down on those times because they were really happy times, but I think the opportunities that exist now to make money on the side and to improve your situation, I definitely look back at that time what my uncles, aunts, my mom, and everybody was going through. And they didn't have any gig economy stuff they could add on.
Right.
You know, I ordered DoorDash the other day, and a dude came by in a big pickup truck that had a work thing on the side, and he was all dirty and his tools were all dirty. And I saw this guy drop off my food, and I went, I think this guy is doing 1 or 2 DoorDash orders during his lunch.
Yeah.
Like he's at a job. I know, some construction thing. But I was thinking, good for this dude. If he has a lunch hour, or he decides, I mean, how smart is this, right? If you're like, I need extra cash, I'm willing to do some work. I have an hour lunch. Or maybe you even work for yourself. You're in the trades, right? When it's 12 o'clock, turn on DoorDash.
Yeah.
And it says, there's an order for Panda Express to go to this house in wherever, the town you're in. If you drive over there, pick up that order, and order yourself food, and then you go drop it off, and then eat the food on the way back,
yep,
you just paid for lunch. Yeah. It's a free lunch, and it doesn't come out of your pocket.
How about this? I know an artist, and he told us about one of the, because we always joke around and talk about like being broke touring artists. You drive 3 states away to go play for maybe you make $100 for your weekend.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, oh man, I solved that problem a long time ago. I was like, what do you mean? This is genius. Now I personally probably couldn't do this because I usually travel with a band and we have like trailer with lighting and all this other stuff. But so this kid normally will travel by himself, just him and a guitar. Mm-hmm. So he figured out, well, I'll get more gigs if I could play for free, but I can't really play for free. So how do I do this? Dude is brilliant. He figured out, okay, so he lives in Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. He gets a gig in Indiana somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he gets the resources to find this, but he has gotten, like, he'll do shipping.
Yeah.
And he'll rent the U-Haul.
Like U-Ship. Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Like rent the U-Haul. In some cases, he's gotten almost $5,000 to take something from Michigan to where he was going, play the gig, and then next day go to another place, load up, drive back on a rented U-Haul, making thousands of dollars to go play. And the playing of the show is like the relaxing part of it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's creative, right? And it makes sense that creatives would come up with creative solutions,
right? And
there's these marketplaces, is what he's doing. There's marketplaces where people are asking, I need to get this to here. Can someone ship it? And if you just go on there and say that you can do it, you bid on it, you bid a price on it, or maybe there's a buy it now. And in his case, he's just like, it's worth it to rent the U-Haul, make the trip, make the money. I get paid more than the show. He's chasing his dreams and being smart about it. I think that makes me think of this idea that money is about ideas, really. Yeah. Of course, most people earn money by going to a job and getting paid. But behind that job, behind that business was an idea. Somebody had an idea of how to make money. In that case, that guy had the idea, man, I'm traveling this way. If I could get paid to bring something with me. Right. Oh, I could ship something. I just have to find a shipment that I need to bring that supports my touring schedule.
Right.
And I'm going to make money doing it. The DoorDash guy, his idea is I can get lunch free if I get paid to go eat lunch. Yeah. And he's going to eat lunch anyway. Like, can I get paid to go bring my car somewhere and okay, I got to swing by somewhere else, but I'm driving there and driving back. How do I get paid for that?
It's problem solving. It's problem solving. It's pattern recognition. And I think you'd agree pattern recognition is probably one of the biggest strengths in a stock market type scenario.
Sure.
And you're probably okay, so I would say this. I've watched your posts and I'm confused as heck on how half of that stuff works. But obviously, so what that means is that, to me, you have very strong pattern recognition and problem-solving skills. Also, probably a memory better than most to understand how all that stuff really works. So it's probably not as complicated as it seems, though.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is as complicated as it seems when you start learning about it. And then it probably gets way more complicated because you realize how much you don't know. And then at some level, you probably start learning a lot more and you feel just confused, but you actually know a lot more. And you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, you get involved, you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't. And then you keep learning and, you probably are getting better. There's this, the reason I like the stock market is it's the best game I've ever played. It's the best like mobile game. It's the best like Xbox. It's the best game I've ever played. Board game, whatever. I would say all of the thing about the stock market is the stock market is most of the time not really valuing the things that we say we're valuing. We're really just watching the emotions of the market participants. So the idea that a company even puts out a quarterly report every quarter, right? So 4 times a year, and yet the stock goes up and down in value based on what? Usually nothing. It's pretty much just the who got in where, who's getting out, what did someone hear about this? Jay Powell said something about the dollar. He's a Fed chair. They're going to do this to interest rates. Most of the time, this doesn't have much to do with the companies that we're talking about, but it has to do with people's emotions, and that's what the charts are. They reflect emotions of the market participants, and sometimes you're trying to predict who's trapped, who got in, and then now they need to get out. Right. And so what are they going to do? They're going to sell. What's that going to do? That's going to make the price go down further. Or who sold short? They sold shares and now they need to buy them back because they need to cover their position or they're really going to start losing. They need to buy. That's going to stop the stock from falling. It's going to make the stock go up. So there's all these things. Who's trapped? There's also rumors that start up. And then there's the idea, we talked about retail arbitrage, but one of the things you can do in investing, I do this a lot. This has become a really popular way to invest. It's called social arbitrage. And it's basically the idea that retail traders and people in the general public can actually see trends in society and find winners before those trends will actually show up in numbers on quarterly reports and in economic reports. So, reports are a big part of the stock market, but they're lagging indicators. When a company shows a Q2 number, it's what they already did in Q2. Right. And so now you're buying for the next 2 quarters, the next 10 years, the next whatever
that makes sense.
Your horizon is. So social arbitrage is like the idea, hey, I think Tesla's really onto something. Hey, I think those cars are really cool. And if I want an electric car, I bet other people are going to want electric cars too. Or I saw a bunch of Teslas on the road and man, they're so cool. Or my kid told me about Activision or Roblox. Yeah. My kid told me about Fortnite. My kid is making me spend. I spent $100 this month on Robux. What are Robux?
Yeah.
What are Robux and V-Bucks? Why are my kids? That company must be making a lot of money.
They must be.
And they are. But you can see that a lot of times before the market sees it because a lot of institutional investors are using lagging indicators, and that's fine. Nothing against them. They're smart money, but there is that ability to have an idea and make money. And that kind of brings me back to that point. That is one of the things I love about the stock market. You can have an idea, and that idea can become real dollars. In the one of my best trades that really sort of kicked things off for me in terms of like having real conviction and really studying a stock was I got into Tesla, and I bought a Model 3, and my only regret kind of is if I were more disciplined, I would have taken the money that I spent on the Model 3 and bought more stock with it. But in actuality, I financed the Model 3, so I really didn't put up that much cash at the time.
Sure.
So that cash would be different. But basically, when the economy crashed, I had been investing in Tesla, and I knew a ton about Tesla, and my basic thought was, I know this. I love this company long term, and it's not going to be cheaper than this in the future.
Yeah.
So I bought all the Tesla I could. I literally put everything I had into Tesla.
Well, they say invest what you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought as much Tesla as I could get my hands on. I liquidated all my retirement accounts, everything, and not took them out, but I mean I sold what they were in already. Wow. So if I had S&P, Apple, whatever, I took it out. I basically put it all in the Tesla, and that turned out to be a really great move because that result Tesla 7x'd in 2020. I didn't get the full 7x, but I got a good solid 4 to 5x on it.
Nice.
And then that really got me more on this journey of like, I really want to find companies that do this, that have this promise and that sort of thing. Because you could have bought anything at that time that I bought Tesla, and you would have done really well. But Tesla outperformed the market, and so that was great. But you could have bought anything. Could have bought the S&P, could have bought Apple, anything that we all know is going to do well in the future.
So what are some ways that for example, I never bought a stock in my life until earlier this year. And for me, it all started with the Dogecoin thing. It was like 3 a.m. I'm scrolling through Facebook, and here's this pro gamer live streaming on Facebook. I'm like, what's this about?
Yeah.
And I'm watching, and out of nowhere, the gamer's like, oh my gosh, I just made $5,000 on Dogecoin. And I'm like, what's Dogecoin? So I start Googling it, and I'm like, wow, this thing's like a fraction of a cent. And it just went up a ton. And it's like Elon Musk posted about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw $100 at it, see what happens. So I download. First thing I could think of was just Robinhood.
Yeah.
And then like the next day, it's worth $1,000. And I'm like, I always thought like you needed a broker. You had to do that. So these retail investing is real. While it is risky, I admit, I think it's given people an access, even in a small way, to investing. Because right now, I've had money parked in a savings account for years. And I've maybe made $30 interest on it. Yeah. If I would have had that same money parked in the right stocks, some dividend stocks, some good growth stocks, I guarantee you over 5 years, I could have at least 3x that. I think
the market's been super hot, especially the last couple of years. And then even if you just rode out COVID, and just didn't do anything with it, I mean, there was a dip definitely for COVID, and that made a lot of people a lot of money. Yeah. There's a lot of different strategies that they use to do that, but yeah, I mean since about 2012, the market's been just really on fire. And
I think so. I would say this though. I think one of the problems is the retail market right now, and like with what happened with GameStop. And I know you were a big. That
was another one I got very fortunate on.
Yeah, but a lot of people are chasing that next GameStop. Like so, I got involved in a stock called CCIV, which is now Lucid.
Me too. Yeah.
And
another.
Yeah. Now
somehow you're pulling out all of my wins. Right?
Now I got into it late. I got into it late because I believed hype, and it might have been your fault. I might have.
We can talk about this. Actually, we can talk about this. Yeah.
So now I'm not gonna lie. I had the get rich quick mentality. Yeah. Of like, yo, this stock's at $60. Everyone's saying when they announce the merger, it's gonna go to 100. Dude, I'll take that all day. Yeah. This is gonna be great. Yeah. So I put a lot of money into it. Yeah. And then it just went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I lost half my money. Now, I didn't sell because, lately being paper-handed is not cool, right? It's not the in thing. Right. But, the more research I did, the more I'm like, you know what? Tesla's a great company. I'm not saying that Lucid's going to kill them. They're not. But healthy competition makes sense. Yeah. They do have some tech that Tesla doesn't.
It's actually in their pitch deck. I've never seen this in another company's pitch deck. They actually put in the pitch deck Tesla's valuation and then their valuation. And their basic point was, even if we don't get that big, we're a bargain. Right. Like their basic point was like, even if like people just love EVs so much, they're probably going to buy our stock, which I've never seen. So what you're saying is 100% right.
Right. But I mean, they have some tech. Tesla doesn't. I mean, I think they're going to be successful. Yeah. And they're going hard. I mean, there's dealerships popping up everywhere. This isn't a fly by night thing, and it's got to do well. So. Now, of course, I made the mistake of joining a Facebook group. Don't join a Facebook group for a stock ever. Because literally there are people who would go, hey, what's the stock going to be tomorrow? Yeah. Like, let me tap my crystal ball, but there's a lot of people who just don't get it. And that's frustrating. But, after doing some research, I went, oh, okay, cool. Well, I could wait forever for this stock to come up to my entry point. Or if I really believe in this, I could put more in and average down. So I got it to the point where I've averaged down enough to where, I mean, the stock's been doing this, but like we're like as of today, I'm down, but I'm maybe down 20%, not even 20 now, probably 12%. It's down, but that's for right now.
And you got some good catalysts coming with that stock in particular because they will have their first car roll off the line. The line will be done. They'll sell their first car. Yeah. They'll be doing a ton more stuff. I do regret not having a longer term position in that stock.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Tone Junkie TV, your best source for Kemper, Helix, and impulse response profiles. Check them out on YouTube, all social media at ToneJunkieTV. Also check them on the web store at ToneJunkieStore.com. Use promo code Golly to get 50% off site-wide. That's right, 50% off site-wide, ToneJunkieStore.com.
In that stock. Wait, I want to talk about some of the stock theories because, okay, so for GameStop, so here's how my investing journey has gone.
Yeah.
I started investing and didn't know what I was doing in my early 20s, and just started. I looked up. I discovered a guy named Jim Bogle who founded Vanguard, and he's the guy who basically invented low-cost mutual funds. Before this, there was no buy an S&P index fund and be done. It was park your money with all of these JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and all these people, and they were taking a bunch of fees. He came out and just said, I got this company, it's called Vanguard. We put together these index funds. We charge you almost no money. You'll make the average. You want the average. Trust us. Most people lose, right? Most people don't make the average. He was right. Because that was in the 70s, and they struggled for a long time. But you fast forward to now, they have $11 trillion under management at Vanguard. They're by far the largest broker in the world. So $11 trillion. They literally have more money than the entire U.S. GDP. I mean, it's a ton of money is parked there. Yeah. So I always tell people, start with the boring stuff. That's almost where it's a good idea to start, especially when you're talking about your retirement. It's probably not a good idea to bet your retirement on Dogecoin. With that said, there's very few things that if you hear about, like a Bitcoin, like Dogecoin, like whatever, it's worth it to read a couple articles and maybe throw $100 at something.
Right.
Because had you done that with Bitcoin, had you done that with Dogecoin when it was these fractions, even now as it's come back down, they can really pay off. So fast forward, I ended up working at this company and I ended up setting up a 401k for them. And I ended up learning a ton more about Vanguard and fees and everything and got everyone there. And then I start wanting to pick some other stocks. I start, kind of doing a little bit of that, and then really start buying into Tesla. So I haven't been investing in individual and single stocks for a ton of time because my belief had been just get the average.
Right.
And that's still my belief. I still have, retirement money that I don't want to expose to a lot of risk. But you fast forward to now, and now I live and breathe, trading, day trading, swing trading, whatever. I kind of go through these ebb and flows where I start to do a little more high frequency stuff, come back and just chill out for a while. And I think that's normal. GameStop was a really great one for me because GameStop was kind of my introduction to all this madness that we have right now. Retail trading right now is back at an all-time high. It's back to the level of 2000, the dot-com boom.
Yeah.
When I used to hear people say, I remember in 2000 I got in a cab and the cab driver had a laptop and he was day trading while he's driving my route.
But wouldn't you say, though, it's more accessible now than it ever has been? Because,
for sure.
Someone pays me on Cash App, I could take that money instantly, put it into a stock. I wouldn't use Cash App as a platform for it, but I do find that it's easier than ever. But do you feel like it's also more dangerous than ever because of how easily accessible it is with zero knowledge to just burn money?
Yeah. I mean, most people usually waste money. So
right.
I don't necessarily
waste it on something.
Yeah. At least they could waste it on something that's maybe relatively could go up in value. It is easier, and there is the gamification of the stock market that is a concern. And I think eventually, I know it's something that the SEC is thinking a lot about. The way that when you swipe a trade on Robinhood, it literally applauds for you and goes, "Yay!"
That's true.
This is these things are all they're very mobile game feeling sorts of rewards.
Right.
Confetti literally drops down. It's funny, until someone pointed that out, I was like, "Oh yeah, it does do that."
It does do that.
And Robinhood just feels good. And I use Robinhood. I have a small account and a big account.
It feels good until a stock is going bananas and you want to sell.
Yeah. And even then, it just looks pretty. Even while you're losing money, it just sort of looks nice. It's like, I don't know. I'm just like, well, at least I'm high tech and losing money.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
This is a serious thing because what I notice a lot of times is that a lot of people in church are hurting financially. Whether I don't care what church you go to, there's people who are hurting financially.
Sure.
And sometimes what you'll see is a, they'll pass the plate, or, so-and-so's going through this, let's get a meal train.
Yeah.
Why is it that there is very little training or teaching or problem solving in the church of going, oh man, you guys are struggling. Hey, let's get people in our church to sit down. Like, what's stopping your church, from saying, hey, we got a lot of people in our church who are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Can you sit down with that family and just give them some pointers, some suggestions, while not being a financial planner per se, but just teach them, look, this is how this works. This is what you two can do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's Dave, right? There's Dave Ramsey.
Right.
So I live over near Dave. And so you can imagine at my church how many people work for Dave, because I'm in Franklin. I live in Franklin, and Dave lives halfway between the apartment I lived in when I first lived here and the house I live in now.
Okay.
So I literally pass right by. I can see his house on the hill. It's a real nice place, and they just built a big Ramsey Solutions complex, kind of right between me and my church.
I saw that. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people at my church who work at Dave. So my church has a ton of, there's financial piece always going on. You can always, and that's who they would go to, and they'd kind of do that curriculum. I think that largely, I don't think the church is free of any of the other challenges that people run into in society, which is that wealth is bad. And I think the church might even especially fall under this idea that a lot of people, that money is the root of all evil, right? Or even the love of money is the root of all evil. And so there's a lot of nuance to money, and money brings a lot of emotion with it. And that's something actually we can tie into the CCIV thing. Money brings a lot of emotion,
right?
And you have to manage your emotions, right? Just like the Bible says, guard your heart, right?
Right.
Is it the heart is deceitful? Who can trust it? The mind is deceitful? I can't remember. Okay. The idea is that our emotions don't always line up with reality, right? And we know that, right? And so there's a lot of emotion to money. So there's going to be times when money is a big source of anxiety, a big source of worry, right? But Jesus told us, look to the birds of the field. They don't sow or reap or gather into barns. They literally do not plan for the future. They do not invest. They do not save. Be none of this. Yet your heavenly Father takes care of them. So I think this is meant to be the Lord reminding us that I did not give you a spirit of fear.
Sure.
This is meant to be those feelings that come from whatever, from breakups, from rejection, from money not having enough, right? The fear of not having enough. Those things do not need to result in those feelings. Take courage, don't worry, But that doesn't mean they're not going to be there, right? They are going to be there, and we're going to encounter them. And so I think largely the church has the battle of, you have a lot of people, especially in our society, who are very materialistic, and really, in the West, the most widely held belief is that somehow those Jordans or whatever are gonna make me happy.
Right.
This discontentment I feel, that thing is gonna make me happy.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that's around like CCIV is gonna go to 100, AMC is going to 10,000. It's people who are lying to themselves and telling themselves, I won't have to put in the work. What if I just don't have to put in the work? What if it's just easier than I think it is, right? And it's a lot of times, even though I think that deep down they know that, it's harder for them to accept there is no easy way out. I have to just do the things I don't want to do. I have to grin and bear it.
And I think, at the end of the day, we've seen enough very, very rich people tell you that it's not like having money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah.
At all. And it's, to me, what makes me happy is freedom. Yeah. I like to be able to do what I feel like doing when I feel like doing it.
Yeah.
To the level I'm able to do it. And that's a big, big thing for me. To the point where it's just that it's just a mentality, I think, that a lot of people in church have, like you said, is the money's the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. But I also think that we get addicted to I think we get addicted to the struggle and the attention we get from people. Like one of the lowest time of my life, I went to church more often because I was struggling hard, and
Sure.
it always made me feel better being around believers who, would pray for me and,
mm-hmm.
and things of that nature. But at the same time, it was like, that was very helpful. And I fully believe God's going to provide. God's going to provide. Now, for me, in my experience, God provided an opportunity
mm-hmm.
that required me to go to work. And somebody once said, and it's very interesting, somebody said to me, nobody ever worked all day digging a hole and didn't end up with a hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really true.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, that's true. So unless you grab a shovel and start digging,
mm-hmm.
like the hole ain't going to dig itself.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And so that's sort of the mentality I've always taken. And from, then you hear the joke all the time of like the guy who died, or the guy's like, he died because he drowned and, a helicopter came and he went, no, God's going to save me. No, a boat comes. No, God's going to save me. He refuses to let them help. And then he dies. He's up in heaven. God, why didn't you save me? He's like, I sent you 2 helicopters, a boat, But right. It's like, I in my life, God has never just supernaturally provided a check in the mail mm-hmm. or someone knocking on my door saying, hey, I like you. Here's all the money you've ever wanted. Mm-hmm. Like that's never happened. It's always been, hey, here's an opportunity, or hey, here's a thing that you can sell quickly to make money. I believe that.
Totally. And this is where so I do want to get back to the CCIV thing. It's just an example. Yeah. But this is where I think there is a conversation that can happen in, Christendom, in the big, sort of capital C church, is the Christian world, about, what is our responsibility over a lifetime to create and provide value for the people around us, for our children, and also for our community at large. What is our responsibility to be givers and to sow into people and to sow into ideas, organizations, whatever. I think there is a responsibility, and I think that while I don't think we need to view ourselves as, these sort of cogs, and our purpose is to just create financial value so we can give it to the church. I think churches are healthier when people give.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you said something. You said that you find yourself more in church, when you're at lower points, right? Yeah. And we know why that is. It's like medicine is appealing to the sick.
That's right.
I mean, right? And churches are going to find it always easiest to go after the most immediate needs. And those are going to be people who are needy, right? And reaching out, right? For whatever, for emotional support, for financial support, for whatever. One of the biggest challenges churches are always going to have, especially in middle America, is going to be when people are just fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It's like, actually, it kind of seems like, actually, you're 3 years from divorce. Your marriage is slowly falling apart. Yeah. But it's fine. You know what I mean?
Well, I think we've normalized also the idea of it's okay to not be okay, so don't do anything about it. And no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
you can't stay here.
Right.
There is a lot of mixed messaging right now about people saying it's okay to be depressed.
Yep.
Don't feel bad that you have crippling anxiety. When I see stuff on Instagram, especially, this idea, it's okay. Some mornings you just can't get out of bed, and that's okay. And I'm thinking, I agree with you. My thought is if you have crippling anxiety and you can't get out of bed, this is not okay. Yeah. This actually requires attention, because you will not have a happy, fulfilling life if this is the problem. Now, this is going to be a big problem for some people. And maybe they also have anxiety about having anxiety. But there's a way to help them without sort of telling people or creating this kind of false idea, I think, that being so depressed that you can't do anything is normal. It's no, it's not. Clinical depression is not normal.
Yeah.
It's not. And I know it's normal. I'm not putting shame out there for anybody. It is not typical. If the clinical depression rate were 100%, the word depression would mean nothing. It would be the normal state of human beings. Then there should be another term for people who are experiencing some sort of more, you know what I'm saying? We'd have to make a new word. So it's not there. I think what people lose and what doesn't get preached about, it depends on where you go, right? Different cultures are going to be different, but I think what people largely forget today is the feeling of winning, the feeling of succeeding in something is it can be very addicting. And I think that the hardest working people I know are people who they want something, they go after it, but they also have felt success before. Yeah. They have felt what happens when they work and work and work at something, and then it gets there. And it's usually not a place. It's usually not just you just arrive all of a sudden. Right. TTM Creative is just like boom. Yeah. Like it's not it's not like you're working and then it's there. But it's like that Old Man in the Sea thing. There's a guy in Old Man in the Sea who loses all. He's the richest man in the world, I think, and he loses all his money. Yep. And then someone asks him, "How did you lose all your money?" And he says, "At first, very slowly, and then all of a sudden." And that's everything. That's how kids grow up. Yeah. The first couple of years seem so long, and then all of a sudden they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 15. Yep. And it's like, that's the idea of the days are long, the years are short. For me, Tone Junkie has been a thing. I left, a job that I had worked at with my dad. It was a company he had started, and I was there for years, and I always saw myself taking over that company, and we ran into some hard times, and I said, well, hey, I got this thing on the side. I should step out of here, And there were some other people there at the time who, had I lobbied, I would have kept my job and they would have lost theirs. Oh. Because I was number 2. Right. But at the time I looked at that business and I had a choice. I was afraid of where my financial well-being was going to come from, where my income was going to come from. But I looked at it and I said, they are more needed than I am. A layer of management is not what this company needs right now. Yeah. So we need to streamline these things. The sales guys need to stay there. Even one more sales guy needs to stay there. Yeah. And I'm going to go do my own thing. And I remember stepping out and telling my wife, okay, life's been good. I've been making pretty good money. Like, we just have our life. We're happy with it, right? Whether it's a lot of money or little, to other people, it was our normal. Sure. Right? And so maybe that's 50,000, maybe that's 100,000, depending on where people are at, like whatever. Yeah. Whatever. I was just at normal. This is the money I'd always made. And I said to my wife, all right, we need to get really strict back on a budget. We had done Dave Ramsey years earlier, and then, you just kind of get looser. And sure. So we had a really strict budget, and I said, okay, in the next 30 days, if I can't get my business, my side hustle business, to the point that it fully replaces my income, and it was doing about a third of what my normal job was doing. So it was already showing like some good success. If I can't get this there in 30 days, then I'm going to drive Uber at nights and on the weekends, and I'm going to be a dad who works 6 days a week. I'm going to do my stuff, and whenever the hot hours for Uber is, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And then I'm going to do my thing in the middle to maintain that third that I've got. And then I'm going to have to work Saturdays. And I'll figure it out. Yeah. Maybe I work at night, maybe whatever. The thing is, I was willing to do whatever. I was willing to do anything, right? And in those, for the next year, I pulled so many all-nighters. I did do it in 30 days. I did get the business to about 90% of what I had been making after I had gotten it kind of where it was going. I don't remember if it was actually 30 days, but I could see after 30 days it was right about to be there, that I could do it. And that if I just made more videos, released more products, just did what I was doing, but did more of it.
Do you find that focusing on the process and actually falling in love with the process was what ultimately got you to the end goal?
Yeah, I think that really helps. But I love what I do. I don't love every part of what I do. You know what I mean? I don't love the all night editing videos. I don't love, you know what I mean? I don't love, there's a lot of stuff I don't love, but you have to do it.
Now the business you're talking about is the Tone Junkie.
It's
YouTube.
Tone Junkie, yeah.
Okay. How many subscribers do you have on that?
So yeah, I have about 20,000, maybe 22,000. So
now that ultimately drives traffic to your website,
right, where I'm making sales.
Where you're making sales.
Yeah,
right.
and so what I'm doing is being sort of the loudest guy in a small niche. And I'm really owning that niche.
Yeah.
And so that's a strategy. I'm not making much on YouTube ads. Maybe I make $300 a month or something. I mean, it's not a lot. So I couldn't do this with 20,000 people on YouTube and make a living. Right. You could do it with 200,000.
Right.
But and also different niches will have different ad rates and stuff. So guitar players, I guess, are broke. So we don't have good ad rates. But you have to just decide you're going to do. It's like you have to decide to dig the hole, and then you'll have the hole. Now, look, I can't really be certain when I start that journey that Tone Junkie's going to make $100,000 or $1 million.
Right.
I don't know, but what I can do is make sure that I don't leave anything on the table because I wasn't willing to go to the table. I wasn't willing to not put in the work. So I can do everything I can.
And it sounds like what you're saying is a lot of that work was other things to sustain you so you can build that.
Yeah, a lot of some
like Uber driving and such. Like
I never ended up having to do the Uber driving.
Oh, okay.
I never even had to. Yeah,
but you were willing to do it.
I told myself, okay, this is what's in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work super hard for 30 days, and after that, all I've got is 30 days. I'm not gonna put my financials, my family's financial well-being in jeopardy by not producing.
I gotta say
money
that is an incredible amount of time to get a business up off the ground.
Tone Junkie had been going along, but it was my side hustle.
Right.
And so it had grown to about 30% of my normal income. And then I knew, well, what if I started releasing products every week or 3 times a month instead of once a month? So I just took what I was doing and really tried to scale it up.
A lot of people don't realize that if they look at their side hustle and scale it, like, whoa, you could probably make more money doing your side hustle full time. And that's an incredible thing, and it's incredibly brave. I think a lot of people find security in having a job, the 9 to 5, show up at work. It's always going to be there no matter what happens. And it's like, and they know Monday through Friday or whatever their days are, that from this time to this time, I'm going to show up and work and I'm going to get paid.
Yeah.
And that money's going to come until it doesn't.
And for some people, you got to weigh can you handle the lack of security? A lot of people really, they don't like that. They don't like the uncertainty, and they would rather be secure and just, I'm fine with however much I make. I really personally have a real problem if I can look up on a spreadsheet and it tells me what I'm going to make the rest of my career. This bothers me hugely. And that comes from, I don't know if you're an Enneagram guy. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. So I'm an enthusiast. So I get very into things. I obsess about them. I learn all about them. And then sometimes I get bored. And my biggest challenge is contentment. So there's something called the Hedonic Treadmill, and if people don't know, the Hedonic Treadmill is this idea that whatever you experience becomes your normal.
Sure.
So if you are in like a good amount of pain, if some people are abusing you, the human brain naturally to deal with this, you begin to feel actually not as much pain over time. Maybe someone I shouldn't say, maybe a boss is treating you very poorly, right? And you just have a job that, people are just yelling at you all the time. They're always hard on you. Eventually, you stop actually emotionally reacting to this. You may actually be depressed, but the Hedonic Treadmill, it becomes your new normal. You feel okay. You're just like, this is fine. This is what I do. Now, you still are kind of beaten up and you got to deal with these issues, but you don't feel it as bad as you did when you first started that job for a week. That first week when it just was the worst. You get used to stuff. That happens with kids. It's very useful when you aren't getting sleep at night, for this period of time. And it also happens the other way. And it's the reason why people start making more money, but they don't feel necessarily more happy or more fulfilled. They get very excited the first time. Oh my gosh, I did something, made $5,000. And then you find them way down the road and they're worth $5 million. And $5,000 would really not change their mental state at all. They wouldn't even feel the emotion of it.
Yeah,
maybe they like the rush. Maybe there's a flipping rush that they like, or maybe there's an investing rush they still like. But in terms of like, if you're, and we can imagine this, if you are 10 years old and you find $100 on the ground, you would talk about that for a year. I mean, it would be the Willy Wonka ticket. $100 is all the money in the world. If you or me found $100 we'd probably post about it on Instagram and go, what a great day. you wouldn't think about it in 3 days. I mean, not much, right? You'd be like, wasn't that crazy when I found $100? But that would be it. You wouldn't still be high from that, like, what an incredible time. So now my issue is, as my business has been more successful, as investing has gone very well for me, I need to practice being content. And not always seeking after the next thing, and letting that discontentment drive me. However, I've also identified this at times can be a healthy motivator. It can be, you got to stay hungry at some level,
right?
And if you get too complacent, too content, you stop doing the things, you stop digging the holes. You go from working 18 hours to 14 hours to 12 hours to I can take the day off.
Well, that's I mean, I call that the human thermostat. He's not for everybody, but Grant Cardone. Yeah, we've talked about him, but he's got the right mindset, the 10x mindset, right? And maybe that's a little overboard, but what I love about it is it's not about actually achieving 10x. What it is, and I've discovered this in my own life. So I stopped coasting. I stopped going, that's good enough. I can do this. Is insane. And that's true in life. And a lot of times what happens is a lot of people fail at their goal because once they start getting close, they relax. And it's just like a fighter would tell you, right? He doesn't try to punch his target. He tries to punch behind his target. Right. You have to go through it. The 10x mentality is the idea of like, oh my gosh, we need $2,000 to pay rent, or we're not going to be able to pay rent. Okay, cool. Well, I want you to try to raise $20,000. Yeah. Now you may not raise $20,000, but you know what? You might raise 5 or 6. Yeah. And now you paid your rent. You got money left over. And it's like, it's true in life. I think in anything you do is you have to reach farther than you need. And that's the mentality that you talked about that a lot of people are stuck in is, well, this is how much I'm going to make a year for the rest of my life. And that's it.
No, and that's, that's totally fine for a lot of people. I myself, I get very uncomfortable with that. And a lot of people, though, are not going to go after that. And that's okay. Yeah. You want to be self-aware and recognize that.
But that's even an entrepreneur, like even the stuff we were talking about earlier, like as something I do as a hobby with my wife. And part of that is actually content. I'm in the process of creating content for another podcast that I'm co-host of, which is the Greenhammer Grind. Yeah. So some of that's for content to show people, look, this is what we did. Yeah. Imagine what you can do. But it's like, even that, if I wanted that to be bigger, I could scale that in a big way. I can go get a storage unit and fill it with stuff.
Yeah, you can start buying truckloads. You can do all sorts of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So the point. So the point is with all that is like, everything in life is unlimited. Yeah. Because it's there. Go get it.
And then the question becomes like, well, what's the point? Like, what's the why?
Right.
For me, the why is... Yeah,
what is the why?
Yeah, so for me, the why... And I think this is the part that's missing and why people don't view wealth as just a tool or money as just a tool, why it's impolite. A lot of people get caught up on the comparison. If I say I have $1 million and someone doesn't have $1 million, they feel bad about that. Right. And that's fine. That's okay. I think those people should be introspective about why is somebody else having something creating a feeling in you. And that's a normal feeling, by the way. Right. That's a natural feeling. I don't want to derail myself, but there's this really great little anecdote about monkeys. They put these monkeys in this cage, and they were studying these monkeys. And this monkey's smart enough that he knows if he pushes these buttons, like a light comes on, and then if he pushes these buttons in a sequence, he gets like a cucumber, and he eats the cucumber. So the next day, or they do this for a while, the monkey learns, and there's an identical stage, or there's an identical cage, and another monkey goes in it. And when the lights come on, the first monkey is excited to teach the other monkey, let me show you what to do. Right, you can do it in yours too. When the light comes on, he presses the buttons and a cucumber pops out. The other monkey sees it, presses the button, and a banana pops out. The first monkey absolutely loses his mind. He goes crazy. He throws his cucumber out of the cage and starts just going insane because the other monkey got something better. They like bananas more than cucumbers. He was content with his cucumber until somebody else had something better, and it was right next to him. It was right in front of him when there was no comparison, right? So it's like, in our, maybe that's like part of our ape brain, our simpler, baser understanding of like, we don't like this comparison. And, you hear a lot of that, but, show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you where you're going. I think that's a Warren Buffett quote or something like that. It's this idea that, comparison is the thief of joy. And so for those, if you hear that someone is very successful or someone, or that, or that your daughter made $90, in an hour, it's like, how could you have anything but like, how could you be anything but happy for that or think that's awesome?
Right.
But it's the why is really important, because for me, the why is my kids.
Yeah.
And then it's my community. So it's my kids. I want them to have every advantage I had and more. Yeah. And I don't think that makes me a good person necessarily. I think it's a very normal thing to have as a dad or as a parent, But extending from that, there's all sorts of amazing, really great things you could do with money. And I would really love to leave behind some sort of a legacy in the form of a charity. Specifically, like one thing that's always been on my mind is I have a soft spot for kids and kids who are hungry.
Yeah.
And so there's, I try to give to those organizations. But one thing that really affected me in my life was I have a brother who's severely handicapped. So he has cerebral palsy. He's blind. He's a couple of years younger than me, about a year and a half younger than me. And my mother is his full-time caretaker. Wow. He's 34 right now. And so he's in diapers. She basically has been caring for a giant baby.
Wow.
For all these years. And I say that in terms of she's got to feed him, change him, change his diapers, like do everything for him. And there's been a lot of financial hardship through the years for my parents because of that. And one thing that's been really tough for them is, kids grow and everybody understands that you got to get your kids new shoes and new clothes, and that gets expensive. Well, the same is true about wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of like this like underground wheelchair trade where it's like your kid out, it's kind of like a bike, it's like your kid outgrew that. Can we buy that? But these are expensive things. And a lot of times you don't know someone who has one, and you can buy used wheelchairs, but they need to be modified. And depending on how fast your kid grows and the needs change, you could get a wheelchair that gives them sores, and then, you have to adjust the seat and stuff.
Right.
So, long term for me, like, and that's an idea, or that's a concept, and then like a charity that I don't think is really well represented in the Southeast.
No.
There's a lot more programs and stuff like in California where I grew up for that. So for me, that's a thing. I would love to be able to eventually get to the point where I can set up a charity and maybe focus on that in Middle Tennessee or in the Southeast at large.
Yeah.
Something specific like that. Or, maybe I just realize there's already an organization that does really great stuff, and I'll just, I'll leave money to them, or I'll set up some sort of, business that has a charitable, it doesn't matter what the why is, but I think like tying it back to the church conversation, it's like those are things that all are kind of within our purview. And I almost think one thing we don't recognize when we talk about generosity and giving is a lot of times you talk about tithing and you talk about, hey, you got to give to your local church, 10% to your local church. But we have lives where we earn more money, earn less money. We go through this thing where we come out of school and we don't really have any marketable skills. We don't earn a lot of money. Then at some point towards the end of our career, we probably are earning more as we develop more skills. And then it falls off completely. And you've got to like take care of yourself. So humans have this ability to make money, and their needs for money compared to what they can earn are changing over time. Mm-hmm. So I think it makes sense that the idea of generosity would reflect someone's entire life. It's okay if you can't give a ton now.
Right.
It's okay. I would recommend people take on some level of giving, because giving puts money in perspective.
Right.
And I'll tell you personally, when I have a big win in the stock market, my biggest challenge then is how do I make this money feel real? And I could share with you some examples of when the money doesn't feel real, how it leads to losses.
Yeah.
But the ability to say, I made $10,000 on this trade. How can I make this money real? The ability to then just take $2,000 and say, I'm either going to buy myself something nice, buy something nice for someone I love, or I'm going to give this to someone who really needs it.
Right.
And those second two could be, it could be buying your wife something nice to celebrate, but it could also be, I know there's somebody in my church who, whatever, they need a home repair. Their roof is broken. Their kid is going to college. Whatever it is, they don't have enough. I know they're really struggling. I know he's been out of a job for over a month, right? They haven't said anything, whatever. And whether you want to make yourself known or not, or whether you just want to give more money to a charity that month or whatever, that's the sort of thing to me where people have to understand their why. The why could just be, for a long time, the why can just be, I'm sick of struggling.
Yeah.
Like, I want my kids to not, I just want more money for my kids.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be able to have a killer Christmas. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you get to the point where you're not worried about Christmas this year, and you're not worried about your house, you're not worried about,
that's freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Then you are free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, is like, what do you think the world should look like?
Yeah.
Like, money helps you get there.
That's right.
So if you think Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and everything is making the world the worst place and they shouldn't be able to do that with all their money, how about you make the world a better place with yours?
Yeah.
And maybe you can't go to the moon.
Yep.
You know, but
you can take a podcast to the moon.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can go to the Moon Creative.
But what I would say is what I've enjoyed is the freedom of, I'm rich by no means, but I have freedom.
Yeah.
Because if Friday I got a call, someone, hey, come play at our church. Okay, I'll be there. If a friend is like, hey man, I really could use your help with this thing, and can you fly out? Can you fly or drive here? It's like, I can. Now I may tell them I can't because I don't want to, but I have the freedom to choose that. I'm not like, oh, well, I have work here and here.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I mean, owning a business, I may have sessions and whatever, but dude, it has been awesome just to chat with you and hear your perspectives on a lot of this stuff, because I think more people need to hear just that it's okay to make money. It's okay to hustle. It's okay to try these things. But it's also, for guys like you and me, like, we didn't go into the things that we do. Like, I didn't go into starting a podcast knowing a lot about podcasting.
Yeah.
I didn't know, when I got into music, I mean, I didn't even know how, at one point, I didn't even know how a mixer works. And then, like, about 2 years ago, like, I built the fly rig for 7 Time Down.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you do it? You just start digging the hole, man.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're a guy like yourself who are doing things on Facebook and teaching other people. And that's the one thing I got to commend you, and I think is awesome. I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
To be fair, I think one time you posted about a stock and I got into it and it didn't work out for me.
What stock was it?
I don't remember, but it wasn't.
Was it SoFi?
What? No, so I'm in SoFi.
I'm in that too.
It's slowly growing. I believe in SoFi. I do. But it's, you're making money with the way you're investing in it. Yeah. I just purchased and waiting. And it's not really taken off, but it's going to be fine. Yeah. It's a growth stock. It's a growth stock for me.
Palantir maybe?
No, I don't. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It'll come to me.
Not Virgin Galactic.
No, Virgin Galactic, I made a lot of money on.
Good.
It's a good one, man. Like,
so really quick. So like we talked about CCIV, Virgin Galactic. Both those stocks have taught me to be really greedy with the wins.
Yeah.
Because CCIV was one I got in, like GameStop for me, completely dumb luck. Literally bought a couple $1,000s worth of options. It was more like a couple. It was $1,000. It was a good amount of. It was a lot of money in options. But it was after I had bought GameStop, thinking, these guys are crazy. These guys are talking about it on Reddit. This is before Wall Street Bets blew up.
Yeah.
These guys are crazy. But I literally bought some, and then it doubled. And it doubled in like 2 weeks. And I went, this is weird. It got to like $40. So I pulled that money out, and I just went heavy with options, short-term, super risky stuff.
Yeah.
Short-term options, and dumb luck. I did that basically in the 48 hours before all of it happened. And I watched $7,000 go to what should have been $250,000 before Robinhood and Vlad did the whole thing. Yeah. Now I still cashed out of that with a ton of money.
Yeah.
About half that, about 150. But even then, I pulled a bunch out and let the rest ride, and that basically went to almost nowhere.
How many people in their lives can say that they? I mean, now granted, it should have been, but it didn't. It wasn't your fault, but how many people could say they put $7,000 into something and watch it turn into a quarter?
Yeah, less than a week later, a quarter. I mean,
it's amazing.
No, never. But like with CCIV, so that was an example where I bought that stock at $15, and I had it went up to $30, and I started getting, and I sold half of it because I got my initial investment back when it doubled, and then when it went up to like $52. And I think I sold like 100 more shares. I bought like 1,000 shares, sold 500 at 30. So I got my initial money back, and then sold like another 100, and then just got out of it completely. Amazing. And that was like a 2.5x type thing for me. And I had some buddies who I remember calling them in the 40s and in the 50s. And I said, get out. Like things go up, but they always got to retrace back down. Like, and the thing is, you know who's stuck, right? Or who's going to get out. How many people bought at 15, 20, 25? And so that's like an example where all of a sudden things just change, you know?
That's right.
And Virgin Galactic, that taught me, you know, seeing CCI, I got out on CCIV, but I've been in on other things, but Virgin Galactic, that taught me, I got out, you know, before the all-time high at about 56.
Yeah, I got out around, I got out right, like right around that too.
Yeah.
Just because I had read how they were going to be selling a lot of the stock, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to be good. So let me take that.
Yeah.
And you know, I took that and popped that into a pretty decent dividend stock, and you know, now making money.
That's how you do it, man. You got to grab those wins and you know, put it somewhere safer. You know, you can't. You know, I don't expose all the money to risk, or else.
But what I appreciate about you is that, like, you can tell by when you share about the stuff, you're not bragging. You're showing. It comes across. You want to show people what's possible.
Yeah, I genuinely.
And it comes so it's so obvious.
Thank you, man.
So you know, as we wrap up, what I will say is, you know, I know that your new YouTube channel is about teaching people and trying to simplify it.
Yeah. Loosely, it's kind of just about all sorts of things. There's some definite investing content. Yeah. Sometimes just about my thoughts on money or life or things, but it's all kind of in that mindset. Yeah.
What's next for Tone Junkie? Mm-hmm. What's next for the YouTube channel, and how can people find you to check all that out?
Yeah, you can search Tone Junkie on all the social platforms. It's all, you know, I haven't done TikTok yet, but I probably will. It's because I'm so busy with Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, I don't have time, but that's a dumb excuse, you know. Yeah. So I'm sure I'll get out there. You can search. You can find Well Hello there. I'll send you some links. Maybe you can put it in the thing, because Well Hello, they're so new, it doesn't come up on the search pretty much. But it's a new YouTube channel, and it's basically just me doing non-guitar stuff. You know? Sure. That's all the things I want to talk about that aren't guitar related. That's on YouTube. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm having fun. But my general thing is, I think investing's part of life, and I think achievement, accomplishment. I just think people sell themselves short a lot, and you know, it just sometimes I think I might have a take and I might want to share it, and so
I think you and I are very similar in that, like, we want to have success not only for us, but to help others go, hey, I can do that too. And now for you, it screams. It's obvious when it screams. For someone like me, like, I'll share, like, hey, this happened, and I get people who are like, he's bragging. And it's just like, no, that's not what it's trying to do. I guess it's the New York in me, maybe.
I think so.
Don't know.
Maybe that.
But man, I'm a big fan of all you do. And
thanks, man.
And I will say, I have been waiting this entire time to ask you, and I hope anyone who might be viewing or listening has been waiting for the explanation on how you are Jonathan Sullivan and HW.
So, starting a YouTube channel years ago and sitting down in front of the camera, you know, you go through that thing of like, why would anyone listen to me? Why would anyone care what I have to say? And I had recently watched the movie There Will Be Blood. And there is Daniel Day-Lewis kind of unofficially adopts a kid that he finds who like has no parents, and he went deaf in an explosion. And he starts raising this kid, and he calls him HW. And they live in a really tough, like, you know, it's like oil drilling and stuff. It's a great movie, pretty intense. He calls him HW, and I remember he kind of introduces this child to these people who he's trying to buy their oil rights. And he's like, this is my son, HW, you know, and I thought it sounded dignified. And I thought, if people are willing to sell their oil rights to a child because he has a dignified name like HW, that must be a good name to have. And as that thought went, I mean, this is just in a couple of minutes, I went, I don't know any HWs. It'll stand out. It'll be memorable. I know a lot of Jonathans. Maybe you knew a Jonathan and he was kind of a dummy, so you'll think this Jonathan's a dummy or something. But I thought it also made more sense. I could talk about myself in the third person, and it sort of hits on the, you know, Justin, Beyonce, Madonna sort of single name thing.
Sure.
And then there's also the layer to it, which I realized later, is like initials sound smarter. You know, J.P. Morgan, J.R.R. Tolkien, you know, J.G. Wentworth. It always sounds, so I figure who needs the last name? I'll just be H.W.
I always think of, whenever I hear like that kind of stuff, I always think of, there's a movie called Boiler Room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where he's like, you know, they name the firm J.T. Marlin.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just like, hey, this is Chris Marlin. He goes, Marlin? He's like, he's my father. And one of the other guys is like, he's my mother. Like, it was just so silly. But every time I think of the initials and things, I just think of that scene in the movie for some reason, you know?
They sound smart, man.
But dude, thank you for coming on. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Jonathan Sullivan, a.k.a. Tone Junkie, a.k.a. HW. Check him out. Thanks for joining. And we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye. This podcast is brought to you in part by Tone Junkie TV, your best source for Kemper, Helix, and impulse response profiles. Check them out on YouTube, all social media at ToneJunkieTV. Also check them on the web store at ToneJunkieStore.com. Use promo code Golly to get 50% off site-wide. That's right, 50% off site-wide, ToneJunkieStore.com.